Next, athletic director for UH Manoa, Craig Angelos. Craig. Okay, and we're going to get started.
Here we go.
Wait.
Here's your hat.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
thank you. I'll just put it on.
So we're going to start with an opening statement from our new AD.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. This isn't my first time being with the University of Hawaiʻi. My first time was when I played baseball here years ago, and I was thinking about this the other day, that during that game, I hit a towering shot out the left field line, thinking it was going to be out, only to have it held up and taken away through that Manoa mist that I kept hearing about. And so when I was flying here today, I thought, this time, this is a home run, finally. I've got a home run, at least for myself. Hopefully it's going to be for you guys too, but at least for myself. So I'm really pleased to be here. I wanted to start by just thanking a number of people first. Certainly, I wanted to start by thanking Chairman Moore and the Board of Regents for their support and vote of confidence. I know the process has been going on for a while, but I really appreciate them giving me that vote of confidence. President Lasner, I just really want to thank him very much for the opportunity. Without him, I wouldn't be able to be here. I owe him everything at this point, and I'm confident that hopefully he'll look back and see this was a good hire. So that's going to be my goal. So thank you very much, President. That means a lot to me. I certainly want to recognize the search committee chaired by Michael Bruno, as well as Susan Icor, who did, I thought, a great job. I had a great opportunity to Zoom from Brooklyn, New York, one night with them, and thought after, I thought it went very well, and thought I had a chance for this job. So I was very pleased with the opportunity to be forwarded to the President. I certainly want to recognize a few others. Deb Ishii over here, who really has been my companion for the last 2 weeks or so. I mean, she's been helping with the search process and the whole coordinating of it, and she's done a great job. Certainly want to thank Dan here and also Derek, also, who have been instrumental in setting up this press conference, as well as helping me prepare and working with you all for this opportunity today. So I have a lot of people to thank. Two more I want to just thank is first my children, Elena, Alexis, Abby, Austin, Aaron, and Olivia with an A, so she didn't feel left out. But the reason I want to recognize them is they've been with me for this whole journey. This is the 8th institution I've been to, the 9th if I count the NCAA. So I've been to a lot of different schools throughout my career, and they've been following me or with me the whole way, and have had to go to multiple schools, multiple high schools, multiple friends, multiple teams, and have really had a hard time. Not hard time, they've enjoyed the journey. We've had a great time, but they've been with me every step of the way, and I want to recognize them and thank them for their efforts, because this is a big win for them. They're very happy about it as they're watching from home. And finally, I want to introduce my wife, Kristen Angelos, over there, the one with multiple liaison. This is all new to us, but we're very excited about it. Kristen, we've been married for over 30 years, have 6 children together, and she's been with me the whole time in our journey. I remember years ago when we first went to law school at Creighton University, and she cried for the first 1,000 miles from Salt Lake to Omaha, leaving her big family behind. But after that, she's been a trooper, a real warrior all the way throughout. And so I want to recognize her, and I know she's thrilled to come to the tropics and make this her home. So thank you very much for your support along the way too. Yesterday I was thinking, I flew 5,000 miles at 500 miles an hour for 11 straight hours in a middle seat. And I was never more excited to do that. And I thought this is indicative of the tone I want to set going forward, because I wrote this down last night as I was flying in. I thought we're going to be, this trip is going to be indicative of what hopefully my tenure will be, and that is that we're going to go as long as we need to go. We're going to go as fast as we need to go. We're going to go as far as we need to go, and we're going to do it even if we're uncomfortable, which references the middle seat. And that's where I want to go. I really believe that David Matlin has done a great job. The people before him too. It's a great athletic department. He's leaving in great shape. It's a great opportunity to be able to sit and talk with him in the last 2 or 3 or 4 days. Even today we spent an hour in the green room, as I call it, waiting for this opportunity. But to be able to have that transition is excellent, because you usually don't see that in college athletics, because usually the outgoing AD's leaving and just doesn't want to have anything to do with the people he's leaving behind or the job he's leaving behind. And the new AD maybe just wants to start fresh and not worry about what's happened before. But this is a great transition. He's been able to tell me a lot about the department. He's done a great job over the last 8 years, and I want to recognize him for his efforts. And thank you for being here. It really means a lot to me, and really means a lot that you can help me through this transition. I know the last 6 days, a lot of discussion has been about this process and about me in particular. I've learned a lot in the press about myself, things I didn't even recognize. I didn't know my batting average way back when. I didn't know a lot of things. And of course, I learned a lot about the department too. I know that there was some discussion about my lack of local ties to the community and whatnot, and I do totally understand that and recognize that, and want to give you my solid promise that I will certainly try to immerse myself in this community. I want to look, I want to listen, I want to learn from everybody that's here. I want to be part of it and make this our home. I know we've lived in a lot of different places over my 8 years, anywhere from, or over my 8 stops and even beyond, from LA to the Midwest, to the Mideast, to Miami, Philadelphia, New York City. I've been to a lot of different places and tried to immerse ourselves in all the different cultures, from our friends in South Florida to our friends in Philly, to our friends in New York. And I plan on doing the same thing here. And I know this is more unique than most any place I've ever been. I recognize that. I've been told that. I do recognize that. And it's my goal to settle it right in and do a great job for you and be part of this community. A couple things I just want to focus on going forward. I know David's leaving it in great shape. But I mean, I certainly want to recognize 4 areas. I certainly want to continue the great work he's done with the student-athlete experience. I know he's done great things with academic advising, mental health, career counseling, work with the Alston opportunities, the CO, cost of attendance, NIL opportunities, collectives, things of those nature that I want to continue to expand on. Secondly, I want to certainly work with the coaches to help them be successful, to help them win conference championships, go to the NCAA tournament, win the NCAA tournament like Charlie's done 2 out of the last 3 years, go to bowl games, make you guys proud of our performance on the field, because after all, this is about competition on the field. Certainly there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, but this is about competition, and I know that's how they get measured, and I want to help them be successful in that area. Thirdly, I want to really work on a lot of what David's already started in the capital projects, certainly the Aloha Stadium project that's been talked about a lot. I certainly want to immerse myself in that area. That's an area I have a little bit of a specialty in from my days at Florida Atlantic University, when I was able to work on a public-private partnership there and build a 30,000-seat football stadium. I know this is a different kind of project, but I certainly want to be involved in that and try to help bring first-class facilities, not just to the football program, but a lot of opportunities in baseball, softball, the women's soccer stadium, the men's track, or the track stadium. So there's a lot of great opportunities to make these a first-class facilities, and which many of them already are, but we'll see what we can do in that regard. And then the fourth thing I want to do is raise a lot of money. I know that that's helpful in any place we go. That's what I love to do. I love to get out in the community. I love to meet as many people as I can. I'd say in the last 6 days, I've been able to, either through text or through actual telephone call, meet with maybe 15 to 17 local leaders, political leaders, legislative leaders, business leaders, anywhere from exchanging texts or having telephone conversations with the governor, with the mayor, with a lot of local business leaders. And that's just within my 6 days of people trying to get us together. So I really want to get out and meet as many people as I can, carry the torch for the Rainbow Warriors, and try to raise as much money as I can. And you have my pledge, I will definitely do that. And I will be calling or talking to everybody within earshot of my voice, and give you the opportunity to join up or to say no, but you will be asked. So I do want to spend a lot of time doing that. Let me just finalize by saying a couple things. You know, this is your university. This is such a great opportunity. I think we're 2,500 miles away from the closest Division I institution. I Googled that today. USC is 2,550 miles from us. I figured that was a good benchmark for us. But this is your university. The whole state, all 8 islands, rally around this, and not just here, but even on the continent with alumni and whatnot out there. Such an iconic brand, the University of Hawaiʻi, and I really want to keep that going. But I do know that it's going to take a lot of people working together. We've got to be unified in our approach, anywhere from the governor's office to the mayor's office to the legislative personnel to donors to university personnel to season ticket holders, fans, student athletes, coaches, parents, everybody. If we're aligned all in one and we have no divisions amongst us, we can accomplish a lot of things. And I've seen this happen like at Florida Atlantic when we built our football stadium there. Everybody aligned themselves with with the process and bought into it. Even though they didn't always agree on things, they did align themselves with the process, and we were able to do great things there. And I think we can continue to do great things here, but it certainly is going to take that alignment and working hard to get this done. And so I leave you with my quote that I've learned since I was 17 that I use all the time. It's kind of a benchmark for me, from Teddy Roosevelt, Man in the Ring. You've probably heard a variation of it, but it goes something like this: far better is it to dare mighty things and win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in that great twilight that knows no victory or defeat. And so it's my pledge to you all that we will dare mighty things and we will win glorious triumphs. We might stumble along the way, but we'll never give up. We'll always press forward, and we'll make things happen. And as we line ourselves together, we'll be able to do great things. And that's my goal, and that's my pledge to you. And hopefully when we look back at my tenure, the president will be glad he hired me, the Board of Regents will be glad they voted for me, and you'll all be glad I'm here. But it's not about me, it's about doing this together. All of our team, our athletic department team, everybody I've mentioned, we work together, and I'm going to be part of that process, and you have my word that I will do the very best I can. And I'll finish with Winston Churchill. It's not about doing your best, but it's doing what's required. And that's what I will do, is make sure our best is what is required and we'll be successful. So that's my goal, and I appreciate you coming here. Mahalo.
And with that, why don't we open up the questions? Darryl Huff, and if you could speak into the mic, Darryl, and say where you're from.
Hello, welcome. Darryl Huff from Hawaii News Now. Could you tell us what you already know about Hawaii culture? That is, what is it that you know is going to be different for you than it was in other places that's going to enable you to be successful? What do you know about Hawaii culture that makes you ready to move into this job?
Well, I do know, as far as, there's one thing I do know that transcends all cultures, and that's kindness and respect. And I know that is exactly what's deserved here, and that's exactly what's given here. The people are very loving here. And they will be treated with respect and kindness with me. Certainly, I know that there's so many cultural differences here. It has been a melting pot over the years. I know for various cultures. I know people, Hallie coming in from the outside with me. For me, it makes it maybe a little bit more difficult of a transition. But I do know that they're very loving people, very accepting people. Want to embrace us. I know that I don't know everything. I know I've got a lot to learn, listen. And I think if I do that and they recognize that I'm humble coming into this process and willing to learn and listen and grow, that I think I'll mesh pretty well. I mean, I know that it's different, but like when we were in South Florida in Miami, we had Cuba, our Cuban brothers and sisters, our Central America, Mexico, South American people, come up and hug us, kiss us on the cheek, just really embrace us, and we embrace them. Certainly, I've lived in Boca Raton, Florida, heavy Jewish population, very much involved in the bar mitzvahs, Passover, Seder dinners. I mean, just being part of their culture, even in Philly with my Muslim friends and whatnot. I've tried to really ingrain myself in a lot of those, but I know Hawaii is different. Hawaii is much different. But I think I'll just do my best to show kindness and respect and look, listen, and learn. And I think in a year, hopefully that will be manifested, that's paid off, and I can be accepted as part of the community.
Dave Brandon.
I'm the guy that wrote that you hit 400 at Murakami Stadium.
That was impressive investigation right there.
But
I know that.
the guys, we're about the same age, and the guys I know that played for UH, they didn't remember you because the only first baseman I remember from BYU at that time was Wally Joyner.
Yeah, he was a little older than me, but
anyway,
went a little further than I did.
Yeah, you did well at that stadium, and it's still there too. So my question would be, you had your athletic director at Florida Atlantic, and have you texted your football coach who was the quarterback in the game that you beat him here? And then also, you've been kind of a runner-up or a finalist for a lot of jobs, and how does it feel to be back in the pilot's chair? And I got to imagine that feels pretty good, and you're full of energy because of that.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Jared Allen was our quarterback back in, I think, 2003 or so. Timmy Chang was on the other side when we came over here at Florida Atlantic. I remember we won in overtime, which was a very shocking thing for us. We were hoping we'd make it out of the stadium because I don't think anyone was too happy about that process at that time. But yeah, I mean, getting an AD job is it's quite a process. I mean, I've always said the sun and the moon and the stars all have to align for you to get a job. There's every search process, every athletic director position has a personality of its own, and so yeah, there's been a lot of opportunities to be runners-up. I mean, you mentioned, you saw in the paper, Rob Mullins from Oregon. We were both finalists at LSU. I was finalist at Mississippi State, Arizona State. Right before I was let go at Florida Atlantic 2 weeks earlier, I just was a finalist at Ole Miss. And I'm like, if I'm good enough to be a finalist at Ole Miss, and now, I didn't get that job, which I was very sad about, but then I didn't have my own job during that transition, that leadership change at Florida Atlantic. And it's like, I'm still the same person. I'm better now, even all these years later, than I was then. So, I mean, it is very hard to get jobs. So for President Lasner to choose me, like I said in the beginning, it's a huge home run for me. I mean, it's a grand slam for me. I'm thrilled myself because, again, the sun and the moon and the stars have to align for you to get these jobs. And any AD that's ever done it, and of course, David can attest to that, all things have to fall into line with you, or fall in line to do that. So I'm thrilled to be here.
All right, next question, Brian McGinnis.
Hey, Craig. The hiring process that you touched on with your opening talk, with the being named and then the 6-day period where you couldn't say anything, right?
Right.
Was just wondering, was that alike anything you had been a part of previously in any of your other stops? And how difficult might that have been, just have your name tossed out there by all of us types and not be able to respond to anything?
No, that's a great question. And I mean, I really appreciate the process. Every state, every entity has its own process. I totally respect that. But yeah, I really haven't seen that in an AD position. Usually you'll interview for a position, they'll make a decision, you'll be announced, and it'll be hired. Here, there's that, I guess, 6-day open review and comment period or whatever it's referred to. And yeah, that was very difficult because you're kind of laid bare. I mean, you've got my friend right here on the front row who does all that research on you and tracks down every fact and figure that you might have in your life, and so you just subject yourself to be laid bare, and yet you really can't say too much about it. So people can pick up on various entities, draw some conclusions here or there, and you want to be able to give some perspective on that, talk about things like the leadership change at Florida Atlantic University, for example. People think, well, if you're no longer there, you must have done something wrong, you must have done a poor job, But I think, as Frank Brogan had mentioned when Dan got him, I mean, that, and I know you would expect me to say this, but that just wasn't the case. I mean, it was like, when I went to that president's office and she said that, I said, this place has never been better. I mean, we just built a landmark 30,000 seat stadium right here for everyone to see, got a naming opportunity that she rejected, but had a naming opportunity to name the stadium. It's still not named after all these years. But all these gifts that we've gotten to fund it and to name various opportunities and things, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. But people kind of referred, wanted to pick that apart like that was, a negative experience. But it was fantastic. So, yeah, it was a difficult process.
And before I call on the next reporter, Brian is the one who broke the story, by the way, that you got hired. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, next question, Stephen Tsai, also from the Star.
Hi. How did the application process work? Did you apply through a headhunter, or did someone from the committee reach out to you?
No, I applied. I saw it advertised online and applied. I don't think they hired a headhunter or a search firm that I understood. I mean, sometimes you'll go through the search firm if they did, but it was my understanding there was not a search firm, at least. So I applied directly online like anybody else to see where it went. And so it was just, I was very interested in it. Like I said, I've loved Hawaii ever since I first came here and played here. I thought it was a beautiful place, a great opportunity to be here. So I said, let me give it a shot and see where it goes. So I applied online, and then I got an email from Deb saying that I've been selected to have a Zoom interview, and had a Zoom interview, and then was able to have more discussion with other people along the way, and then eventually met with the president. So I thought the process was good. I mean, I really do, as far as AD processes that I've been involved with, and I like it better, here with everyone being involved. It was good.
All right, next question. Anybody? No, Jen Paniza.
Hi, Jen Boniza,
Hello,
K.
Jen.
Joanne. Nice to meet you. This is such a pivotal time in the university's history. We're looking at delays with the Aloha Stadium. We're looking at conference realignments. There's a lot of things. You're facing an uphill battle. You're coming from the outside. How are you really prepared for this kind of, challenge?
Yes, good question. Yeah, I really do. I mean, from from the athletic side, I think I'm very much prepared for that. I mean, I've been involved in this for 30 years, all these different institutions. I've been a number 2 at probably 5 or 6 of the different institutions, been a number 1 for almost 9 or 10 years. So I've been at that process, or been at that level, and pretty much have seen everything there is to see. But again, it's a changing landscape. So you have the transfer portal, you have the NIL situation, you have the collectives. I mean, that you have conference realignment. Those things are strong and are all new. So yeah, I mean, I kind of know where what to look for. I kind of, it's like putting a puzzle together. Every place you go, there's different puzzle pieces, and you go in there and you say, oh, I think the puzzle piece might work here, 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 there. And I think I'm really good at putting those puzzles together. So I'm really confident in my abilities to run an athletic department and steer it in the right direction and make the necessary changes or keep going with things that are going well. I think the cultural thing is more of a challenge, being from the outside, but I think I can win my way into the hearts of these people. That's my goal. I think I can. But from the athletic department standpoint, yeah, I feel really confident that we'll navigate those waters and try to do its best for the University of Hawaii. It's an iconic brand, and I think it has a lot of potential. And I think David's taken it a long way, and my goal is to keep climbing that ladder and seeing how far we can go.
I think Darrell is next.
Specifically on this stadium issue, what did you learn from the stadium you built in Florida about what's ahead for the University of Hawaii? Right now, Aloha Stadium stands definitely underfunded by hundreds of thousands of dollars. They give them $350. They said they would need $6 possibly to build a 30,000 seat stadium. You can't raise that much money by shaking hands, right? So what do you see as the challenge there? Do you see doing Aloha Stadium, or do you actually think there could be an alternative to Aloha Stadium out there, building from the ground up?
Well, that's a good question, and I really don't know the answers to that yet because I'm just getting into that. I mean, at Florida Atlantic, it was built on our campus. We were able to raise money and then also finance the rest through very low debt service, which is only about $2.5 million a year compared to a couple others were about $5 million a year. So it was a really good business model, a good pro forma that we set forth. I don't know what the pro forma here looks like. I mean, this Aloha Stadium to me is more like where I was at Temple University when we played in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, and we were renters at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. We paid them, I think, $2.25 million a year to rent it, and then we had to pay the operational costs every game, which averaged about $300,000 a game, and then we didn't get many of the revenues. So I understand that Aloha Stadium was similar to that. As far as the revenues coming back to the institution, things of that nature, I know that it wasn't and this one's not going to be the university stadium. It's going to be, be able to use it for a certain amount of days per year, and then the rest they'll be using it to raise money. So the pro forma models are a little bit different, but that's what I'd want to take a look at is what is their pro forma, and are there other opportunities through mixed use opportunities? Like the one at Florida Atlantic, I was able to get $12 million cash up front as part of a public-private partnership so they could build dorms on our campus. Now, they took a 30-year lease on it. They made a lot of money on it, but we got our $12 million up front to jumpstart it. So you just try to be as creative as possible, and I'm sure there's a lot of good people working on it that have figured that out or will figure it out. So I just want to be part of the process, and if I can ask or help in any way, I certainly will.
Can I follow up, Dan, real briefly?
I don't think so, Darrell.
Thank you. So the public-private partnership you just described is not completely dissimilar from the public-private partnership that's been described by the state of Hawaii in terms of bringing in outside developers who can pitch in. Student housing is a very high revenue activity, but do you think that experience will help you deal with a state government that seems intent on a public-private partnership at the stadium?
Well, yeah, again, I'm really not sure of what's taken place so far, so it's hard to speculate. But I mean, these mixed use projects have been going on, I think, at least since Camden Field with Baltimore Orioles as far back as I can think about, where everyone's trying to do a mixed use kind of project where you're bringing in revenues through other revenue sources. And I know they're trying to do that here too. So yeah, I guess we just have to see what other revenue streams are available through maybe public-private partnerships and see where we go. So it's a little early for me to comment. I haven't really talked to anybody about it or read too much about it, but yeah, I think people just have to be as creative as possible. But I'd like to see it move quicker than slower because playing on campus is a great opportunity. But again, it's a smaller stadium from what I understand, 15,000 seats, and so So I know we're going to try to find something more permanent as soon as possible.
I just want to make sure everyone, okay, go ahead, Dave Byrne.
So obviously, the University of Oregon athletic director is a good friend of yours. He spoke very glowingly of you.
Right.
Do you know Phil Knight very well?
Well, two degrees of separation. I'm sure I can call Rob Mullins, and I know he does. No, but Rob's a good friend of mine, and we've talked a lot about this job. I know he thinks the world of this job. He was very encouraging for me to try to go after it. I know we go out and play them in September, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll use every contact I have. I know I've worked with Nike for a number of years in different schools, especially at Miami. I have a lot of contacts there. But yeah, they run a great organization. So yeah, see whatever I can do. I'm going to use all my contacts I can to try to help the University of Hawaii any way I can.
Sorry, Brian, skipped you.
Craig, a moment ago, you touched on the on-campus gym complex, and yeah, just given your experience building out an on-campus facility, I was wondering how much of your time and energy will be focused on in the next, 6 months through football season into making that venue the best it can possibly be in this interim period.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, David's done a great job. He showed me all the plans and what they're currently doing. I was in his office today, and we were looking out over it, and he was pointing to me all the things that are in place. So it seems like it is in place. It's moving up to 15,000. Sounds like there's a good plan. I was curious to see what kind of footprint it had there. It is tight around there, because I was curious to see, is there, what's it going to look like when it's over? So yeah, I mean, I did think about that, though, what that will look like and where to go from there, because it sounds like it's going to be there for at least 5 years or so, which can be an eternity for a football coach. But I'm sure Timmy will navigate that very well. But yeah, I mean, I'll certainly work with David on that transition. Sounds like everything's in play already right now, though.
Any more questions? Anybody have any questions? Questions for anybody at all? Okay.
Dang, why do you keep asking if they have questions?
You're standing right there. I mean,
I did. Almost a clean getaway, as Jack Nicholson
there
said.
were a lot of concerns expressed by regents about the transparency. Even some of the folks who voted, for Craig, questioned this process. What was the issue with the process among the regents? I talked briefly to the chairman, and he told me that it was just very difficult to have to go through an entire personnel file with the regents in this condensed period of time. What would you change about the process that you just went through, given the the comments from the regents?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to go, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I kind of process things. One is, if this had been something like, a medical school dean, you wouldn't be here and the board wouldn't have been involved, and, it would have been a different kind of process. The 6-day posting is law, so there's no way around that. I think clarifying what does it mean for the Board of Regents to approve an appointment. So according to Board of Regents policy, every executive appointment gets approved one layer above. And so that's, some of the media coverage talked about when David Matlin was hired, technically, he reported to a chancellor who reported to the president, and they were separate jobs. That ended up going to the board for different reasons. And, it was, I'll just say, as complicated as this, but in a different way. So that's one set of possibilities. Another, although this is almost never done, and I think you know this, it's very common for medical school or any dean to announce a set of finalists and have them visit and have public talks and ask the world what they think. For presidents, I don't have a good percentage, but maybe it's 50-50, where some schools will just name one finalist and then the board will vote on that person, kind of similar to what we did here. And then some schools do presidents, like when I was selected, it was a wide open search, and I did 17 public forums and and all of that thing. So, but that's just not how athletic directors tend to be selected or head coaches. So we would be kind of swimming upstream to go to that kind of a process, but it does give people a lot more comfort about transparency. But again, it's not the practice in industry. So I believe that the next time, and I hope it's not an athletic director, but this could apply to any position that reports to me. I'll be more clear up front and communicate with the regents about step by step, what do we expect to have happen each and every day, and I think that would improve things.
Steven, sorry?
Just want to know, so was it your policy then to only forward one name, or was that written in the
That's
bylaws?
not written in any policy, so that was a decision we made early in the search.
So that was your decision alone, or was it somebody else's?
I advised the board and that, nobody complained, but yeah, that was my decision.
And what about not revealing the other candidates today in the executive?
Yeah, that was part of it. That normally, if you conduct a confidential search, you don't disclose any names without permission. And in this, there are people also for president jobs, obviously not me, who will not participate in a search if their name is going to be disclosed in advance, because it compromises your ability to do your current job, depending on your employer. So some employers, if they find out, oh, Dan just applied to be the editor of the Star Advertiser, well, what is Lassner going to think about Dan? He's not being loyal to us. And so there's lots of searches that take place in academia where candidate names are not disclosed, and in other professions as well.
Oh, we would have picked Dan.
Yeah.
Any more questions? I just want to ask a question to end on our new AD and not our president, or President Lassner, but you talked about possibilities, building the possibilities. I mean, pie in the sky, swinging for the fences kind of things. What kind of possibilities do you see for UH athletics, given that, you haven't even started yet?
Yeah, and I could get in trouble with that because I may not know all the facts around that. But I think for an athletic director, you want to have great facilities, like first-class facilities. And I think when we bring on that Aloha Stadium, that'll cap off wonderful facilities. In the meantime, we'll try to get them going as best we can and get the first-class facilities, first-class coaches, first-class teams that are winning. And I think they're doing that already. So, people will talk about conference affiliation. Are we in the right position for conference affiliation? People have talked about the Pac-12. Is that a possibility for the University of Hawaiʻi, like people are talking about with San Diego State or some of those other schools, and not knowing what's going to happen with conference expansion? Where does that leave us? So I just think we have to be ready for anything, but the way to be ready is to have great facilities, great coaches, do it the right way, and then be ready for any opportunities that might come our way.
Any more questions? Go ahead.
Hey, Craig, when, do you plan to go, back to the mainland for any amount of time before you come out here for good? And will you be good to go for that June 5th, I think, timetable?
Yes, that's when I'm going to start, is June 5th. I'll be here probably the weekend before. But yeah, my wife and I are flying back tomorrow to my son's graduating from Lafayette College out there. So we're going to fly out there, take the overnight flight, drop into New York Saturday morning, drive to Pennsylvania, and we'll stay there for probably 2 weeks, and then we'll start June 5th. So really looking forward to it. But I'll be, if anyone wants to talk along the way or whatnot, you all have my cell phone number. I'm very transparent. I'll give my cell phone number to everybody to call or text anytime. I want to be accessible. That's my nature anyway. So I know I'm going to get a new 808 number, but I do have an 813 number if anyone wants it. So I'll be available along the way. But yeah, I would be starting on June 5th. I won't give it out on television, but but that's okay too. I'm open to anybody. Want to hear from everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, folks. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.